swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
You are listening to the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. You are, don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe. Leave those 5-star reviews, and you can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. You can also follow me on the socials at Crawley's Cub on Facebook, X, YouTube, Blue Sky, all that fun stuff. We have a special guest joining us today. I'm glad he was able to put down the drums, stop dancing, and come on the podcast. Michael Clair from MLB.com. Michael, how you doing tonight?
Oh man, I am doing so well. I don't know if I've slept in a few weeks, but other than that, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, what a joy that you've had. You've been in Miami. You got to see the quarterfinals in Miami, which was just amazing. And then the semifinal and finals. You and I were talking a little bit before that. How do you top 2003 Ohtani versus Trout? And I feel that this tournament built upon the success of the last one.
Yeah, I mean, the last one, what a way to finish. USA, Japan, 1-run game, Ohtani Trout, but this one, every game, every location, more fans, more noise. We all became captivated by Italy and the espresso machine. We had Puerto Rico dancing to Preciosa. We had the Dominican Republic flipping every bat and celebrating. Venezuela, tambores. I mean, this was, I think this might have been an older tagline for the WBC, the Festival of Baseball, but this really was a festival environment in every pool, in every game.
Now, again, when we take a look at the big board and we look at the bracket right here, we talked on the last show about the quarterfinals, but you were there to see Team Japan take on Team Venezuela in the quarterfinals. And again, Japan, a powerhouse. They won 3 of these WBCs. Stunned. I mean, the fallout from Japan is still continuing after that upset loss, correct?
Yeah, so it's kind of shocking. It's really more shocking that they've never before now not made it to the semifinals, because Venezuela, very good ball club. Ibata stepped down, Hirokazu Ibata, the manager for Samurai Japan, and there's some people saying, well, it's that sort of, resigned/fired, and others are like, well, this is such a difficult, almost thankless job. If you win, it's what's expected. If you lose, it's your fault. That most managers just do one cycle. Hideki Kuriyama did one cycle, and after 2023 stepped down. But it is a lot of people are talking. A lot of people are wondering what happened to Samurai Japan. This tournament, they kind of fielded almost an American style offense. They prioritized power, the lineup over pitching and defense. Now, granted, I think they brought the best pitching they could. When you lose Ohtani and you lose Roki Sasaki, doesn't really matter who you're picking. You're losing two great arms right there. But yeah, it's for the first time in tournament history, Japan not in the semis. It's kind of a big deal.
And, obviously there's a lot of Venezuelans that came out to Miami. It's a lot tougher trip to make it from Japan. But what was the reaction from the Japanese fan base in Miami?
Yeah, it was really interesting. There was a large Japanese fan base that made it out. There was the Owen Don out in the outfield. I was working on trying to do an interview with them during the game, and come the 7th inning or 8th inning, it was like, well, it looks like they might not move on. So let's wait and see, and maybe we'll do the interview tomorrow. There were more, I was here in 2023, and there were so many Japanese fans outside the park before gates even opened. They were in Hanshin Tigers jerseys. They were in Tokyo Giants hats. They were in Samurai Japan uniforms. Obviously, the Venezuelan fans outnumbered them. It's a, 14-hour flight, and there's a large Venezuelan community here, but it still had an unbelievable atmosphere. I think, for the Japanese fans, I think a lot of them just love baseball enough. There were still a lot of Japanese fans fans in the ballpark last night. I think they probably, bought tickets if they were going to come all the way here to see it through. But, I saw a fair number of them in either USA or Venezuela gear. So I think they might have, picked a second team and gone with that. But yeah, it was a surprise. And I think fortunately the tournament was just so fun that even if your team's gone, you still come out to the game and have a good time.
Now, the team, and you mentioned it earlier, the Versace, the espresso shots, the team that captivated everybody really was Team Italy, beating the mighty US, beating Puerto Rico, and, getting and really taking, Venezuela. I mean, it was a very close semifinals. What is it that the people that put together Team Italy, what did they do right? Because I don't know if anyone would have said Team Italy in the semifinals.
Yeah, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Francisco Cervelli and GM Ned Colletti. Ned Colletti got a lot of grief as the Dodgers manager back almost 20 years ago at this point. But they had a lot of great connections, and they brought in a lot of big league talent, really good minor league talent. I mean, Aaron Nola at the front of the rotation, him and Samuel Aldegheri, who is the first Italian-born and developed pitcher to reach the major leagues, was a really strong 1-2 in the rotation. In that pool, you could argue that only the U.S. with Skeens, Skubal, and Logan Webb was better than that. So they did a phenomenal job recruiting, and they had just an incredible vibe. Vinny Pasquantino as captain came in the room and said, he learned from Salvador Perez, and he said it was very important to him to be a good captain, to help all the players, to be there, to do what he could to make everyone around him better. And I think every player embraced that. They had a lot of young talent, some guys with a little bit of major league time. That this was just a team where you see in 2 weeks you can build that chemistry, and that does have an impact in this tournament. And the best news for this, though, is what it's done in Italy. The newspaper back pages are talking about baseball. Members of their government are talking about baseball. Millions of fans throughout, if you count everybody up from the tournament, we're tuning in. We might not see the impact in 5 years, but maybe in 10 years, we start to see kids who were 7, 8 years old who watched this tournament said, hey, I want to pick up a baseball bat. And now we start to maybe see what that impact means. So it was a lot of fun for us, but the larger goal for everyone on that team was, how does this help Italian baseball for Italian-born players in the future?
Yeah, it was, and just the amount of fun that they had was so great. Now, when we take a look at the semifinals, everyone was talking about this lineup between the U.S. and the Dominican probably being the most stacked lineup in a competitive game. And yet you look at all of this firepower, you look at all the big bats in there, whether you talk about Harper, Judge, Schwarber, Henderson, Witt, Tatis, Marte, Guerrero, the list goes on and on. It was a pitcher's duel. And also on the other side of the semifinals as well. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, I think you really see, if when you watch that USA Dominican game, if you really watch it, this was not bad hitters or hitters playing poorly. This was pitchers already in October mode, where every pitch they are so locked in. They are so you saw the pitchers step up. You saw the pitchers need to execute every pitch and make it happen. That whatever pregame scouting they did, they took the lessons and they were giving absolutely everything they had. And the other thing is, we do talk about in spring training, and it's sort of an aphorism, whether it's true or not, that pitchers tend to be a little ahead of batters. They come a little earlier, and hitters takes a little bit more time, more at bats to get your timing. So maybe we saw a little bit of that at the end of the tournament, especially it's largely a bullpen tournament because of pitch counts. So you're seeing a lot of new arms, a lot of new angles, and managers were really good about that. But, until the last few innings, the Dominican team had only struck out twice. So it wasn't that they were getting completely dominated. Paul Skeens had a great start, but Paul Skeens was going up against the greatest lineup he might ever face. And you have to give him a lot of credit, but they struck out 6 times in the last 3 innings. And that's when you might have seen this team of great hitters, each one trying to just hit the home run to tie it. But at the same time, you look at the inning David Bednar threw, like, how are you supposed to hit, some of those curveballs, that he's throwing, or, fastballs up and in? Like, he did a phenomenal job and some great pitching. So we just saw really, really great performances. And this time it happened to be the pitchers that won the battle.
Absolutely. And I wanted to kind of hone in on something you just said, though. Do you think that in the future, because I feel like Team USA, I saw them getting their silver medals and they didn't want the silver medals.
Yeah.
Do you think that when they come back in 3 years, Team USA, is it something where the hitters might come out early and start working earlier to try to kind of balance that out? Is that something you think might happen?
Yeah, I think as the tournament gets bigger and bigger and people make a bigger deal about it, you saw Tarek Skubal say that he thought it was going to be an all-star game environment and he was wrong. And then he didn't want to leave the team. Every year, players understand how much bigger this is, how much more it matters to them, and how much more it means. So in 3 years' time, are the hitters going to come out earlier? Maybe. Are the pitchers going to come out? I think we're just going to see a lot more work put in before the tournament even gets here. And one of the things that I've seen people talk about, and I don't know how you fix this, but they say, a lot of the, like Team Venezuela, they're so close to each other because even in the majors, they all talk to each other, because they're, from Venezuela in a different country. And so they have this community. Is there something USA Baseball can do to, encourage a closeness from the team? Are there ways to, for the next 3 years, we see them in training camps at times so that they're together more often? That's me completely spitballing based solely on the reaction from some fans I saw, but it's as this tournament gets bigger, I think we're going to see teams try to experiment in different ways.
We talked about Team Japan stepping down, and Mark DeRosa obviously made the big boneheaded mistake about talking about thinking he was in, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't, about the quarterfinals. But also every time he put a lineup out, and this is USA versus Venezuela, it seemed like that was getting dissected every which way, And I think it's funny because normally it's just like one team's fan base dissecting a lineup. Now you got the whole country kind of looking like, well, where's Gunnar Henderson? Where's PCA? Where's all these guys? And also that idea of the teams, the major league teams, being in the ears of the manager, use this guy, don't use this guy. I'm not trying to dismiss what, Mark DeRosa made a mistake saying what he said. I don't think there's any way around it, but does it seem like like we talked about Team Japan, a thankless job?
Yeah, it's really tough. You're managing a group of superstars. You're putting together the greatest lineup that your country can assemble. And one of the manager's biggest jobs is really to be there to protect their players. And so that means that when things go wrong, it's your fault. USA had 3 hits last night. PCA came into the game. Gunnar Henderson pinch hit. Like, sometimes the players just don't perform, and it wouldn't have, Venezuela started a lefty. And so we saw, all right, Byron Buxton is going to be instead of PCA. Like, yeah, we can sit there and we can talk about it. If Mark DeRosa was right, though, we wouldn't be talking about, oh, Mark DeRosa made this great decision. We'd be talking about, well, PCA or Gunnar Henderson came up with this big play. And because they lost, we go, well, they made these mistakes. It really is a really difficult job. And I think you need to be insulated a little from it. Omar Lopez is the winning manager for Venezuela. In his press conferences, he talked about some of the vitriol he received in 2023 when the team made it to the quarterfinals and was a Trey Turner grand slam from the semis. And he had to decide to come back. He shared a story where his wife was like, why are you doing this? You don't have to do this. So it's not a job that's easy. It's certainly a job that, when you win, it feels great, but otherwise it's not coming with a lot of rewards.
I got to tell you, I watched the yesterday, the intro, the pregame show, and the players coming out on each side, and they had the graphics on the field. I remember that the All-Star game, they did something like that for Hank Aaron, but this seemed like a level up. I thought the intro was just absolutely electric. Cheers for MLB and whoever put that on, because I felt the electricity coming through my TV.
Yeah, it was big shout out to the game presentation folks at MLB for that one. I was told before the game, hey, you might want to make sure you're in your seat at the press box and not trying to like grab food or something right beforehand because you're going to want to see it. And I'm glad I did, because it was really cool. I loved getting to see highlights from every pool, the celebration of all these teams that fought to get here. And it really, showed the global reach of this tournament, the impact of this tournament, and how much fun it is. So I love the intro, and it kind of captured a lot of the reasons why I love this tournament so much.
Now, obviously, there was some extremely close calls in the semifinals. Dominican Republic, USA, that especially did not go the Dominicans' way. I think it's fair to say ABS will probably be in place next time the tournament's there. But if the technology exists now, do you know why it wasn't and you're playing in Miami? Do you think there's a reason that it wasn't used?
Yeah, I think, and this is speculation, but we haven't seen it at the major league level yet, and there's historical precedent for this. In 2016, replay had been expanded to the major leagues, but at that time it had not been expanded in WBC. I think it was still just fair or foul for like home runs kind of thing. And there was a play at first base in the qualifiers that an umpire missed that eliminated the checks against Nicaragua, a play at first base. And people were upset because they're like, well, we can see the replay, but you don't want to implement this in a big international tournament too. Like, there wasn't a pitch clock last time because a lot of these international leagues at that time weren't using a pitch clock. So there's also a limit to how much you want to introduce, how much these, other leagues need to get used to it. When the pitch clock was introduced, some of these leagues added pitch clocks, or at least were training with pitch clocks so they'd be ready. So as helpful as ABS might have been in that situation, and honestly, that was the last strike of the game. If the ABS system is the way it's going to be implemented, most likely Dominican Republic already would have used their challenges by that point, and so it wouldn't have mattered. But I think it's okay. We've decided it's going to go to the major leagues. Let's make sure that works, and then we have some time that everyone else can learn how it works and filter it out. Baseball's been around 150 years without it. One more World Baseball Classic without it, I don't think breaks the game.
This was put out today, the all tournament team. If you take a look, just a lot of great players. Luis Ariz, you take a lot of Venezuelans, obviously, but Ezekiel Tovar, Roman Anthony, Fernando Tatis, Shohei Ohtani, obviously. But is there anybody that you're looking at this list that you say might be missing or was really a breakout star once this tournament ended?
Yeah, there's a few actually, and that might be what my newsletter next week is sort of an all-tournament second team. JJ D'Orazio for Italy, coming up when Kyle Teal got hurt and Alberto Mineo got hurt, and he had a phenomenal tournament. His numbers look very similar to Austin Wells. I thought he really stepped up. Bo Young Moon, who drove in 11 runs in Japan. He, I thought, might have deserved a spot at first base. Andre Satoria, who's pitched 8 2 shutout innings, including 4 2/3 against 8 1/3 inning, I believe. But he pitched 4 2/3 against Japan, shutout. He's the electrical engineer that everybody loves. I thought he could deserve a place on that roster. So yeah, there are certainly a few other names out there to consider. Even Bobby Witt, I would take Ezekiel Tovar. Yeah, Daniel Palencia, exactly. Was it 5 innings, 9 strikeouts, no hits, no walks? Like, I know he's a reliever, but that is a name to definitely talk about. And even Bobby Witt, whose offensive numbers weren't as good as Ezekiel Tovar's, what he did with the glove, there were a few plays that were just some of the best defensive plays I've seen. So, yeah, I love the list. It's actually very close to what my list looked like, but there's definitely a few guys that could have deserved a spot.
Now, I didn't see anything about the ratings for the finals, but it seemed like every single round, these ratings were shattering records. What does Rob Manfred, the players, and everybody, the owners, what do they take away from this tournament?
I mean, I think it's the same thing that we as fans all take away from it. It's that people love this. There is a magic to playing for your country, to watching your country, for having all of these players come together, and also for a short tournament. I love the 162 game season. I love the postseason. I love the World Series, but it is fun to have an environment where at best you're playing 7 games. Like, your season is 7 games here. So every game matters so much. Even in the pool, we saw 1 loss for USA, and they were, in there were concerns that the superpowered team wouldn't be able to move on. So I think it's just a great way to add on to what is already, I love Major League Baseball. It's what I grew up with. It's just, it's another thing that's a little different and just makes our baseball lives a little better.
Well, I got to tell you, I feel that this was a grand slam as far as the tournament is concerned. You talked about, young kids one day going to be talking about this tournament and how it influenced them. I looked at guys like teammates like Daniel Palencia and PCA still loving and supporting each other. I know everyone's not Cal Raleigh, but still loving and supporting each other, even when their teams were playing against each other. I just thought it really showed what was best about baseball. And I told you before we even got on the air, next, I don't care what's happening. 3 years from now, I am going to Miami. I am going to bring my own drums. I will be dancing. I am ready for the WBC to be back.
Yeah. I was on the field doing some interviews after the game last night, and what another thing that makes this tournament great is, yes, for 9 innings, these guys want to win so badly, but outside the lines, and Robbie Perkins in Australia also didn't want to shake hands before the game. So I understand there is a competitive fire that you have to get yourself in, but after the game, these guys want to win, but then they are all part of this larger baseball community, and that includes the writers, that includes the fans, that includes the technical committee, that includes the photographers. You can't put on something like this without every single person in the ecosystem mattering. And I'm a big proponent of sports, our community, and to me, international sports is the largest community possible.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate you jumping on and taking a few minutes to talk to us. Tell our listeners where they can find your work and follow you on the socials.
Yeah. So I am at Michael S. Clair on X. I think it's Michael Clair on Blue Sky, Michael S. Clair on Instagram. All my stuff is on MLB.com. I mostly do international, so I have an international newsletter called International Beat, which you should sign up for. And April 1st, about 2 weeks from now, I have my first book, We Sacrifice Everything to Baseball. It's about how the Czech Republic team, this team of amateurs, became World Baseball Classic stars. So if you like the World Baseball Classic, you want to know more about that, please check that out. And that I think that's every possible place you can go and find me.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on, and I hope you have a safe travels. And if you're around Wrigley, please hit me up. We'll have a beer.
I love that. I will let you know next time I'm at Wrigley. And yeah, thank you so much. It's always fun to talk this tournament.
It's all over.